From weekend getaways to extended road trips, California is full of places to explore. And for over 100 years, the Auto Club has been there to help. Our travel agents offer you expertise regarding destination information, trip planning and reservations, either in office, on the phone, or online. Across the state, throughout the country, or around the world, through all life's travels, we're always with you.
Road Trip has been made possible by the Automobile Club of Southern California.
It was crazy weather, lots of wind. In fact, the wind was blowing lots of sand across the road. And visibility, well, it was close to zero. We were the only ones out on the road. But we had somewhere we had to be out in the middle of the California desert. And we weren't about to let a little wind and sand stop us from getting there. And you know what? Before long, things had settled down and cleared up. And it not only turned out to be a beautiful day, but this whole trip to the desert turned out to be one of the most beautiful experiences of my life. Well, here we go. We're starting our road trip, and we're starting it in an absolutely beautiful way. It's early morning, it's springtime in the desert. The acacia are blooming. Look at this scenic shot right over here with the blue skies and the big white puffy clouds. I love the desert in the morning. And what better place, well, we have to start it here because this is where it all starts in Anza Borrego. We've come to the headquarters area of Anza Borrego Desert State Park, and we're heading right over there. You can hardly see it from the road, but that group of trees right over there with, well, you can barely see the flag flying, but that's where it all starts, the Visitor Center at Anza Borrego Desert State Park. Okay, we have arrived at the official Visitor Center for Anza Borrego Desert State Park. I've hooked up with my friend Mark Jurgensen. Mark, you and I have known each other for a long time, and you've known this park for a long time. How many years have you been associated with Anza Borrego?
Well, I first came here when I was about 11 years old, so 46 years ago.
Do the math. You've done just about everything here at this park, including your latest position was the head person here, the superintendent of this park. So you know what you're talking about when you take us around the park today, starting with the Visitor Center. And this is, you all are kind of sneaky around here, aren't you? Because we're at the Visitor Center, but you would never know it, and a lot of people never find it.
That's right. They come to a parking lot and a flagpole, and like a lot of desert life, we live underground. The Visitor Center was built underground. We dug a big hole, built the building, covered it up with 4 feet of desert sand, and there's a native plant garden here, and it conceals the entire building until you get around to the east side.
So actually right now we are not only at the Visitor Center, we are on top of the Visitor Center.
Exactly.
Let's get a look over here, because when you lean over the edge, there it is. You begin to see it, and it really is built right into the side of the mountain. Now, did this win some architectural awards when it was built? When was this built?
Yes, it did. It was built in 1979. So the idea of, you know, building green buildings with 4 feet of soil on the roof and all that was relatively new.
Boy, this is beautiful up here. Looking out over here, here's your little desert garden down here that you've got for people to walk in. And what are those mountains off in the distance?
Off in the distance, in the foreground is Coyote Mountain, which is right now is being used as a bighorn lambing area. There are about 50 bighorn out there right now. Beyond it is the Santa Rosa Mountains, which is some of the highest elevation in the park. Pine forests and some oaks, and all the way up over, if you got on top and looked the other side, you'd be looking down on Palm Springs.
You know, this is what really strikes me whenever I'm here is the size, the scope of this place. Everything is on a large scale here, isn't it?
It really is. The park is over 600,000 acres. completely surrounds the village of Borrego Springs, which is quite unique in America for a town to be inside of a large reserve like this.
And isn't this the largest state park in the entire California state park system?
Yes, it is. You could almost fit all the other state park units in California into Anza Borrego.
Inside this one. Wow, well, we're starting off. Boy, it doesn't get any prettier than this. Everywhere you look are these beautiful vistas and all this beautiful scenery. This is what you see when you come to the visitor center and just stand here and look out. But we are just starting our day's adventure inside this park. We have got a lot of territory to cover. Okay, we are inside the visitor center. I've taken the liberty of coming behind the desk. I'm visiting with 2 volunteers, 2 staff members. This is where those over 100,000 people a year come. They come right over there, look at the map that says you are here, and start asking what kind of questions, Abby?
Where are the flowers?
You've heard that one how many times?
A lot the last couple of weeks. Really a lot since the beginning of February.
Well, now what else do they ask about? Because they're here all year round.
Well, most of them are first-time visitors, and they want to know the general information on the park. They're always flabbergasted that the park is so huge.
Yeah.
Just so huge, almost as big as the state of Rhode Island, you know.
Do they want to hike? Do they want to camp? Do they want to rock climb?
Well, mostly they want to hike. They want to get out and they want to see the bighorn sheep if they can. They've heard about the Palm Oasis, and if there's any water around, and we have some water around. Mm-hmm. And the other thing they love to do is camp. And they're always amazed to find out that in this park, they can camp anywhere they want.
Okay, a little hands-on demonstration here. Abby and I are coming through a replica of Slot Canyon, which I figure is one of the sights to see in the park.
We have many of them in the park.
But Slot Canyon's not really what attracted my attention. This is what attracts people's attention right here. It probably scares people, doesn't it, Abby, when they see it for the first time?
It startles them.
They look up there and, boy, he looks intent, too.
He is intent.
Now, are there many mountain lions in the park?
No, there aren't that many. And they're not really down on the floor.
Yeah.
They're not seen down on the floor. And what they're really after is a good meal like bighorn sheep.
Yeah. So it's okay
Right.
to wander around.
They're not interested in people.
Boy, I tell you what, that makes a statement right there. Look at that face. Now, that's a welcome to the park right there. That's a big howdy to everybody here in the Visitor Center. I promise we're going to leave this area, or at least I think we are, aren't we, Mark? That's the Visitor Center right over there.
We haven't come far. We've got a long ways to go.
Well, you wanted to bring me here. This is called the
Borrego Archaeological Research Center.
Okay, now that deals with human history, which goes back how far here at the park?
Probably 12 to 15,000 years.
So there were Native Americans living here 12 to 15,000 years ago that we know of. Could be even further back than that.
Could be, right.
But we're going, didn't you say we're going to go in this other building, which is a...
We're going farther back in time to the Stout Paleontology Lab.
So that's talking about the animals that used to be here.
Animals that lived here from 300,000 back to 10 million.
Oh my gosh. Well, here we go. We're passing up the Archaeological Center, although I'm sure that's interesting, and going into the Paleontology Center. We're going way back in time. Well, Mark was right. Lots of old bones inside the Paleontology Center, and I've hooked up with, introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm George Jefferson. I'm the district paleontologist, California State Parks.
You're the head bone person here.
I'm the head bone person here.
All right. Now, we've got a lot of old bones here, and boy, you can't get any older or more interesting than what we're looking at right here, and I can't tell from looking at it what it is. You've just told us it's old.
Well, this looks like just a layer of little pebbles.
Look at
But
this.
what it really is, each one of these little things is a bone, and they've grown in the skin of this animal right here.
What is that?
It's a giant ground sloth. It's about 2 million years old.
Oh my gosh, so this was like armor on the outside of the sloth.
This acted like chain mail right inside the skin.
So you found this on the property here of the park.
This is state park.
How many sloths were they slothing around back millions of years ago?
We have 3-4 species of them. This one's the middle-sized one, then we got a smaller one and a little bit larger one.
You know, this sloth gets me excited, but there's something over here. We kind of scouted this place out that got me even more excited. First off, you got bones everywhere here, and all of these bones were found here at the park, including this thing right here, which is what?
This is the thigh bone of a mammoth. And we've got about 80 different mammoths from the park.
Yeah.
And we got 2 different species.
Look at this thing. But let's don't talk about the mammoths. Here's what we're here to talk about. I've never seen anything like this before. This is the shell of a
giant tortoise.
Giant desert tortoise.
This fellow's about 2.5 million years old. He's related to the Galapagos tortoise. You can imagine these things running around out there.
Now, did somebody just stumble across this, or do you go out on digs?
We go out on regular expeditions. We survey areas. We take a look at the existing materials that have been found. People have been looking for fossils out here for 50, 100 years.
Yeah.
And so we look at all those old maps, and we say, okay, well, here's an area that's never been looked at. And we mount up a crew, and we go in there, and we survey that area.
Do you think you've just scraped the surface, haven't you?
Yeah, pretty much.
This is what you call job security, isn't it?
When you've got a park that's over 600,000 acres, and a good chunk of that's got fossil deposits on it, yeah, it's job security.
Okay, now we've come right next door to the, what do you call this, the preparation room?
This is the preparation laboratory.
I guessed it right.
You got it.
Preparation laboratory, and what are these ladies preparing?
Well, they're working on our fossils, horses and camels primarily.
So this is where the bones come after they're found out in the park.
Right. This is the first place they come into.
Now, these all volunteers?
Everybody's a volunteer here except me.
Do you know what you're doing down here?
I do now.
What do you mean you do now?
When I started, I thought it was for just looking for bones and bringing them in. But then I found out you had to do the dirty work and clean them up.
Yeah, see, it wasn't quite as glamorous as you thought it would be.
No, I was into the glory, but now I'm into the work.
Yeah, but this has got to be interesting. What are you working on? Can you pull that thing out and let us see it? What is this right here?
It's part of a vertebra.
Wow.
But we don't know what part it is yet, but we will at some point.
Now, as much fun as we were having in and around the visitor center, it was time to hit the road because Mark had a whole list of places in the park he wanted to take us.
All right, we've pulled off on this little dirt road because everywhere you look here in the park, I mean, look at this. We talked about it earlier today, the size and the scope of everything. I think it's the shadows on the side of the mountains that give you some sense of perspective, but this is just overwhelming. And here, all of this is part of the park here.
As far as you can see, all these mountains as far as you can see. We're in the northern quarter of the park. The park's about 70 miles long, about 30 miles wide.
So even as far as we're seeing right now, we're just seeing a corner of what's here.
And that's just it. With any trip to Anza Borrego, you need to set up trips in the future. The place is vast, and we're looking over Clark Dry Lake right now, which is geographically is called a playa. The waters, flash flood waters and rain waters, whatever we get, come into this low-lying area, but there are no outlets.
Is that water down there? Is that a lake now?
That's a mirage. Looks like water, but it's a dry lake.
Wait a minute.
That's flat as can be. It's about
I
3
see
miles
water
across.
down there.
Okay, then you go on down and get a drink.
Now, before we leave this spot, I've asked Mark to drive us down closer to this lake because I claim it's a lake. He claims it's a mirage. There is no lake here. And the closer we get to it, Mark, you may be right.
Might be right again. It's a dry lake, and desert's famous for mirages. When you get all the heat waves coming off the surface of the desert, it actually alters the...
Yeah, but there's no heat today.
Well, down on the ground, you know, it's absorbing a lot more heat than we feel up here in the cooler, cloudy day.
Now, see, I still think I see water up there.
Okay.
There's no water.
Heat waves.
You're right. You won the bet. It's dry, all right.
I guess I won lunch.
Yeah. Well, it looked like water, and it's a quintessential example of a mirage, a desert mirage.
This is it. The flat, dry lake where you're looking through a lot of heat waves.
Yeah.
Even
now,
on a cool day.
It looks to me like water came through this area, so it does have water in it some of the time, doesn't it?
Right, it's a closed basin. Water can come in during rainstorms.
Out of the mountains.
And nowhere to go out, just evaporates. So a tremendous phenomenon happens right here in these sands under our feet. When water inundates this dry lake, and the salinity and the temperature and everything's just perfect, there's a hatching of a desert shrimp right here, thousands of them. And they'll get to be about 1.5 inches long, and they can live as long as the place is inundated. And they feed on detritus and on algae and on dead bodies of other shrimp. They mate and lay eggs by the thousands, and those eggs go back down into the mud. It's like milk chocolate, and then that mud dries up, you know, like potato chips, and in that mud are held these eggs for decades, sometimes for decades.
So there's little eggs, shrimp eggs, all through this area right now.
Hard to believe, but it's a phenomena that, you know, the desert opens up its surprises one at a time.
There are so many hidden surprises in the desert, and this is an example of one of them right here. It's called Clark Dry Lake.
Clark Dry Lake, named after the Clark brothers who used to run cattle here in the early 1900s. And they had a well dug right over near these trees. Hand-dug well, went down 10, 15 feet, and there was water.
Wow. There's so much history here. You know, when you first come here and you just stand out here, you just think you're out in the middle of nowhere.
Yep.
But you got to know what you're looking for, just like knowing why it's named Clark Dry Lake, and knowing that all through this dry lake area are those little tadpole eggs waiting, you said, sometimes for decades.
Can you imagine being out here in the summer when the surface temperature right here might be 180 degrees on the ground, and an egg is adapted to withstand that kind of dehydration and temperature, and when the conditions are just right, out of nowhere comes life.
The acacias are blooming, and boy, we are in a forest of acacias right here, and I have a feeling that's why you brought us here. This actually is called
Acacia Flat.
Okay, now what's the deal? Boy, this is a good year for them looking out here.
This is great. In the mouth of Coyote Canyon, which is one of the more well-watered canyons in all of Anza Borrego, get up on these alluvial fans, and they're just thick with ocotillo.
Boy, they're
it's
beautiful.
A forest.
Now, we've missed the peak bloom, but you still get an idea of how beautiful. And this is kind of wildflower country out here, too, isn't it?
In March, this place is really coming alive with annual wildflowers, and then the shrubs and cacti. So in the later months, on into April and May, you'll get the shrubs continuing, and the cacti will be blooming nicely.
This kind of points it up. We're walking through the forest of these. Oh boy, look at the size of these. These are old ones. These are big ones.
We think some of these live over 200 years.
Yeah, at least.
One like this, I mean, the base of this is, some of those are
like
6 inches across.
Look at this, and they're just going on and on out here. But what I like about this area is you've got all this life down here, but then you realize that you've got all this elevation. This is where the bighorn sheep are, up in here, right?
Bighorn live in these rugged mountains that come down into the canyon bottoms in the summer for water. About 5 months out of the year they come to water, and about 7 months out of the year they're living up in the hills, virtually no free water.
So you've got the whole extreme of experiences here, from the desert floor up to the mountains.
That's what Anza Borrego is all about, diversity. From over 6,000 feet down to almost down to sea level.
Yeah.
And then all the wildlife and all the plants that are attuned to those various ecosystems on the way through that realm.
Well, the winds come up. It's a little brisk out here in the spring, but that's part of the desert. You never know what to expect out here.
Sure is. We're at an overlook right now in the Borrego Badlands, and we're looking down into some really tortured landscape.
Yeah, look, now I've never heard it described that way, tortured landscape, but that's exactly what it is. Look up here. This is an amazing landscape. Everything, Mark, that we're seeing out here is all called the Borrego Badlands. Why did they get that name? I'm almost afraid to ask.
Well, the Spanish called them Mal País, Badlands. So the English translation has become Badlands.
Were they bad because of they were so barren, they were so dry, they were so inhospitable?
Inhospitable, dry, and you're like walking in a moonscape. So everything looked the same. A lot of people have been lost. A lot of people have died in the Badlands of Southern California.
Now, Mark says we're still in the park, but Mark, I think we're on another planet. I think we're on Mars or the moon or something here. This is a very interesting and a very surreal part of the park, and I'm sure there's a story behind this.
This is the middle of the Badlands. It's so bad that even the plants can't live here.
Wow.
These are the mud hills. All sediments from the Colorado River.
Look at this, but this has got a totally different feel to it from where we just were. These are more rounded. Look at these back off in the distance, and you said, actually, I'm not that far off. This is kind of like the surface of the moon, isn't it?
It is. In fact, we've had some people from JPL and NASA actually test moon vehicles here. We've had some films done about the Earth to the moon.
Yeah.
Space race and all that right here.
This is about as close as you can get and still be on Earth, and it's got kind of a, this soil is a real thin kind of a soil too, isn't it?
It's very fragile, and one of our issues here in Anza Borrego is keeping motor vehicles on the roads. Because if a motor vehicle comes out here,
it could tear it up.
And the driver wants to test his skill going up one of these hills, it breaks that crust, and it's very fine river sediments underneath. And those tracks will be there for years.
Okay, you've been wanting to take us to this place all day. Where are we ending up our Anza Borrego Desert State Park adventure, Mark?
We are coming up to the edge of Fonts Point. There's a spectacular vista over the Borrego Badlands.
This is a place you say everybody's got to come.
This is a must-see point of interest if you come to Anza Borrego.
Well, we're here.
Come on over to the edge.
We're here, and look at this. Oh my gosh.
Spectacular.
I wasn't even prepared for this. This is truly otherworldly, and we're seeing way off in the distance here.
We're looking out into Mexico, Arizona, and this drops off about 400 feet.
Now, is this more of this Colorado River stuff that we had already seen some of?
This is the Colorado River sediments. This is the heartland of the the paleontology research.
Oh boy, the animals that are down there, and look at the different colors out here.
And the colors here correspond with those colored bands in the Grand Canyon.
Wow.
As the Grand Canyon got eroded out by the Colorado River, those corresponding colors got spewed out here into the Delta area and then became the Borrego Badlands. It's all been lifted up.
Wow.
Now
a lot of geologic, a lot of earthquake activity around here, I bet.
A lot of fault lines we've driven over.
Yeah.
We're standing on one right now.
I hope nothing happens now. We'd go right off. Do people hike down in here? Look down in here. They look like almost trails.
Yes, they do. You can go off the end here, and as long as you stay on the backbones of these ridges, you're in good shape. But, of course, you know, it's a very steep, pretty dangerous country.
Boy, I bet it gets hot down in there in the summertime.
Summertime, you come up onto this point, middle of the day, might be 115, 120 degrees, and it's one of the quietest places on Earth.
Wow.
You swear you could hear the atoms colliding with each other.
You know, this is one of the most beautiful places. Look out here. This is one of the most beautiful places, and it was totally unexpected. Why haven't I seen more pictures of this? This should be in every California scenic book. Now, is there more? Is there another? What's right up?
Let's look off toward the west, and we can see
right
into the town of Borrego Springs.
See, this is another. Oh, gosh, look down here. This is another beautiful view. Looking over here. And again, everything we're seeing is part of the state park. This is just, you know, we've been with you all day today, and we've still just seen a corner of the park, haven't we?
We've seen some beautiful things, but it just scratches the surface, and you could literally spend your entire life exploring the place.
Well, you've spent your entire life here, almost 40 years, and I'm sure there's still new things you discover every day.
Every single day. It's fantastic.
Well, it's here for all of us. Boy, this belongs to all of us. This is one of our California state parks. Thank you very much. You know, we're just halfway through our road trip.
Got a lot to see and a lot to do.
Yeah, because where we're going to go next, come on up here, Cameron, you can see it. Where is Borrego Springs? Right off that area right down there, there's a town down there where we're going to be spending the rest of this road trip, Borrego Springs. We're going to be leaving Fonts Point and all of this wind and heading down into town as we continue our road trip to Anza Borrego Desert State Park. It doesn't get any more beautiful than this. If you haven't been here, you gotta come see this place for yourself and stand out on this point and just look at this panorama. All right, I've said enough. It's time to continue our road trip. Let's go into town. Now, right in the middle of Anza Borrego Desert State Park is the nice little community of Borrego Springs. A quiet, gentle place with its own vibe. A place filled with very nice, creative people. People who make you feel at home right away. Okay, here we go. The second part of our road trip begins, and here's the official sign to greet us. Welcome to Borrego Springs. And then, of course, here's our official welcoming delegation. I don't usually hang out with VIPs, but we got the mayor and we got the president of the Chamber of Commerce here. Right. And we're standing right in, I'm not sure it's the geographic center of Borrego Springs, but
it's the heart of town.
It is the heart of town.
It's the heart of town, yeah.
Where are we right now?
We are at Christmas Circle, which is the area where all roads into Borrego lead, right here to Christmas Circle. And this is the setting for many community celebrations and festivals, as well as just a wonderful place for people to come hang out and have a picnic.
It's a park with trees, and it is a true circle because yesterday, I got in my car and we just drove around. That was the high point of the afternoon. I think I made 4 circles, continuous circles.
You got it all.
Around the circle. I really got into the spirit of the circle. Now, how did the circle get its name? It's called Christmas Circle.
That's right. It's called Christmas Circle, and in 1774 through 1776,
she's a historian,
yes.
So she's a stickler for dates.
She is. We're calling her for that.
Juan Bautista de Anza, Spanish explorer, went from Tubac up to San Francisco, right through the Anza Borrego Desert, including Coyote Canyon here to the north. And on Christmas Day, there was a baby born, and so 200 years later, here we have Christmas Circle.
So you've kept your history.
Yes.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
also holding something that's very important and very significant. Only in Borrego Springs would the mayor be holding this, but there's a reason why you're holding this as the mayor.
There certainly is. It's a stoplight, as you can see. And when I was installed as honorary mayor last October, this was given to me. I had to pledge to the community that I would not allow a stoplight in Borrego Springs during my reign as honorary mayor.
This is the only stoplight in Borrego Springs.
And this is passed down from mayor to mayor.
Absolutely.
And each mayor, before they can become honorary mayor, has to pledge
Yes.
that during their reign.
Exactly.
No, so why is it such a big deal not to have a stoplight in town?
Look, Huell, you need your differentiators, right? How many communities in Southern California can actually say, we don't have one stoplight?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
How
that
many?
adds to the whole
Sure it
significance.
does.
And this has a practical use, though, for you.
Yes, it is inside my back door, my home in Borrego Springs. It has a little switch here. So when I come in at night, it's very dark here.
It's your nightlight.
It is my nightlight.
Well, don't break it. You got to pass it on to the next mayor.
That's right.
All right, now let's
I
swing
dusted it
around
off.
here. Let's swing around this way because this is going to show us downtown. Come on, ladies. Come on over here because we're getting a shot of downtown Borrego Springs. How would you describe downtown Borrego Springs?
Oh, human scale, low-key, friendly, no stress. Just about everything you need in this little stretch. You'll find good food. You'll find lodging. You'll find groceries. You'll find notions, sunblock. Galleries, art galleries.
We also
ice cream stores.
We drove up and down yesterday and just shot the entire downtown out the
didn't
side
take
of
long,
the
did
car. We shot one side and then we went around Christmas Circle and shot the other side. It really is a usable town, a functioning town. And look, this is about, traffic-wise, this is about it.
Very easy to get around.
I don't
Yes.
think you need a stoplight
No.
here. Why would anybody put a
No.
stoplight in here anyway?
No, when we have a big wildflower bloom, however, it is different.
Well, all this activity on Christmas Circle, I've worked up an appetite, so now we've come right to the heart of downtown Borrego Springs. There's the big modern mall over there, but that's not where we're headed. We're headed right over here to one of the real hot spots in town, Fudge Factory and Ice Cream Parlor. They specialize in ice cream and fudge, so that's where we're heading right now. Mr. and Mrs. Fudge Factory, but that's not really your name. Your names are?
Lee and Andy Bosworth.
Okay, so you've been running this place for how long?
We are just completing our 9th year.
You specialize in two things here. I know you have a lot of good things here, but you specialize in?
Well, we make our own fudge.
Here's
That's
the
our
fudge
claim
right
to
here.
fame. We started making fudge 11 years ago and selling it at our local farmers market. That was the height of our ambition. Somewhere it got away from us.
And you've
here
got
we
your
are.
own store.
Here we are.
But you also specialize in ice cream. And what kind of ice cream?
It's Blue Bunny.
Blue Bunny ice cream. Where? I've never heard of that before.
Well, it comes from Lamar's, Iowa.
And what's it doing in Borrego Springs?
When we decided to carry ice cream, we told our supplier we want the very best ice cream we can buy. And he said, "You're describing Blue Bunny," which
So
I'd
you-
never heard of.
You've got Blue Bunny, so people here love their Blue Bunny ice
Their
cream.
Blue Bunny. they
And
don't
their
sell for any
homemade
less.
fudge. We got the fudge here, we got the Blue Bunny ice cream over here. Which should I have? I can't have both, can I?
Certainly can. In fact, You know, we've never done this before, but you put a glop of ice cream on one of these chocolate walnut fudges and you've got a meal.
Oh my gosh, this is a new concoction.
This is the Huell Decadent. I don't know what we're going to have to come up with a name.
Boy, that is full of calories, but it looks great. I think we may have started something here. Thank you all very much. Come by when you're in Borrego Springs and get fudge and ice cream. You can get them separate or together now.
Absolutely, yes.
And as we were preparing to leave, you as a local told me not to forget something.
Well, I'm not sure how you found us, Huell.
Why is that?
We are not on the new Barnes & Noble World Atlas. There's a big blank where Borrego Springs is.
So you said to remember that Borrego Springs is not on the map.
You are off the map today.
And I have a feeling that people who live in Borrego Springs are glad it's that way.
That would be...
You don't need it on the map.
That would be the sentiment here.
Well, I got to tell you, if I eat this whole thing, I may be big enough to be on a map. The adventure continues.
Yeah.
Okay, I got my Blue Bunny ice cream and my fudge. I can't eat it all in one stop, so we're continuing our tour. Here to greet us, we're at her art gallery. The name of this place is?
Liesel Paris Art Studio and Gallery, and I'm so glad, Hugh, that you brought me my breakfast.
No, this is mine. We are here to visit your gallery, though, and it's located, what is the name of this mall?
This is the center of the Center Mall in Borrego Springs.
The center of the Center
Yes,
Mall. What does
because
that mean?
We are surrounded by buildings,
Uh-huh.
and this little square is the center.
Ah, the
So
center
this
of the
is how
center.
how
And we
get
got a
this.
health food store, we got skin care, we've got...
Trish, who is absolutely a wonderful person. She knows everything you want to know about health food.
I may be breaking out after I eat this, so I may be needing to come see you. Let's go
So
in and see
please
what
come
you've
on
got, though. I'll try not to spill anything on your merchandise in here. We're going in her gallery. Now we're inside the gallery, and here is an example of Liesel's work. You did this, right?
I certainly did.
But I got to tell you, it's not too impressive on that side, but
No.
there's a flip side to what she does, and here it is right here. Now that is impressive.
That is impressive, and if I flip it around again, you have to understand that the total painting is done in reverse process, in the sense of the painting process and reverse image, everything on the back side. So when you turn it around, you look through the glass and you actually see the picture that I did on the back.
So you're painting backwards.
I'm doing everything backwards.
And look, we've got an example of it here. This is one of her works in progress. Look at this. Now this is the back.
This is the back. You might see the cracks because this is a long, tedious process to produce those, but they do permit me to do very detailed work, which I specialize in.
Okay, now turn it over. That's
now,
the back.
Look at the name, Liesel Paris.
It's backwards.
It's backwards, so it's mirror image, but it's not called reverse glass painting because of the mirror image. It is called reverse glass painting because you start out with your highlights, your shadows, and your background at the very end.
This is old, isn't it?
This is a very old technique. It goes back to the 13th century.
Well, this is spectacular and very much of a surprise. There are lots of galleries in this town. There's lots of celebration of art in this town. But in this gallery, there's something I've never seen before. It's called
reverse glass painting or hinterglass painting.
And you can come right here to her gallery and see it for yourself. Backwards, upside down, reverse art. It's all done right here. Now, if there's one thing we've learned on this road trip, it's that the desert is full of surprises. For example, when you come to Borrego Springs, there are all kinds of good restaurants here. You can eat Italian food, Mexican food, American food. But these days, there's another kind of food being served here. It's located in a restaurant right off Christmas Circle here in downtown Borrego Springs. Here's the building right over here. Now, this little building used to be a thrift shop, then it was a clinic, then it was an art gallery. But these days, it's specializing in a very exotic kind of food. And let me give you a hint. Bon appetit, everybody. Now, this is very exciting. We're standing here in the middle of this beautiful restaurant that used to be a veterinarian's clinic, a thrift shop, and a gallery.
Correct.
You now run it along with your partner, and the question is, why are you here? Why is this in Borrego Springs?
Well, coming from France, it was really interesting to come here in the middle of nowhere, and we were living in San Diego and coming more and more and more, and finally we bought this building, and the story starts here.
You mean you were coming here to visit the park, to hike, to enjoy the outdoors?
Like a lot of people, doing here, and we fall in love for the area.
And decided to open up a French restaurant.
French restaurant in the middle in Borrego Springs.
Now, look, the place is packed. You got to have reservations to get in here.
That's correct, yes.
Obviously, this is caught on out here.
Well, I think that the success of this place is that we try to offer what we like to get when we go somewhere. You know, a nice place, good ambiance, good wine, and good food.
Yeah.
And that's it.
And you're located in this beautiful setting in the middle of these beautiful mountains and all of this desert scape all around you.
Correct.
It all fits together, doesn't it?
Well, it's kind of weird to find a French restaurant in the middle of nowhere here, but I think that finally it's perfect.
Yeah, it makes perfect sense.
The connection is done.
Why not? Everything else is possible in the desert. This makes perfect sense.
We're in America. Everything is possible.
You know, here in Borrego Springs, they've got lots of nice golf courses. Several of them are open to the public. They're good restaurants, lots of good food to eat here, nice hotels, beautiful art galleries, and of course, all the natural scenic wonders of the location of this place. But these days, the absolute pride and joy of the people who live and work right here in Borrego Springs, well, there's the mountain over there. But look over here, right beside the road, we've got, well, I'm not sure what these things are. What are these things, Dennis?
Hello, Huell. I'm Dennis Avery.
Nice to meet you.
Hey, this is Ricardo Breceda.
Nice to meet you. What are we standing beside?
The original inhabitants of Borrego Springs.
This is called a...
Gomphotherm.
Okay, boy, it kind of has an echo coming off of it here when you're standing up this close. What in the world are these things? And look, there's another one right over here. They're placed all around the area here. What are these things? Why are they here?
Well, they're coming home because I live here. It is a home of mine in this area. We sponsored up at the Visitor Center a very interesting science project of the animals that were here past thousands and millions of years. And we had a wonderful book, art, everything put together. We decided to go three-dimensional. We needed an artist. We found the artist, Ricardo Breceda, a terrific talent who makes these out of new rolled steel.
Now, your idea was to take the pictures, the drawings of the animals that used to be here thousands, millions of years ago, and actually bring them to life in these sculptures and place them all around town. What was the reaction of the townspeople when you first put one of them out here in the middle of a field out here?
Within 3 days, it was magnificent. I was ready to take them down. I thought people might be angry. It went the other way. Everyone was very interested and loved it.
Yeah.
So we went from these original 3 to more than 54 now.
Wait a minute. You've got 54 of these things placed all around this area here.
That is right, and that's the beginning.
Now, I've seen one that's just right over here. Well, look, there's 2 little camels right over there, and then there's another camel across the way there. What's the deal on the camels?
The camels were here before we were, and they were large. And through the artistic talent of Mr. Breceda here, Senor Breceda, we have brought them back to life in 3 dimensions. I'm so impressed. I'm having a lot of fun, and everyone who's coming out here to see them seems quite happy also.
You've got camels, you've got sloths, little sloths and big sloths.
That is correct. We put sloth babies, huge ones, on the backs of the mother sloths. People said that didn't happen. I went down to Costa Rica, visited today's sloths. They do ride on the backs.
Yeah, so these are all correct politically and geologically and biologically and whatever else it is. These are the real things right here. This is the way it would have really looked.
With artistic license.
All right, artistic license. That brings in our artist right over here. Let's all walk over here because this is a huge piece of sculpture for you to put together. How do you go about making something like this?
I start with a frame and we go from there.
Do you look at old pictures? Do you look at drawings?
Picture or model is good enough for me. All I need to know is the size and we go from there. It's through the time I make it, like better.
So how do you know how big to make this thing? This is huge.
It's about life size, the way it was about,
So it would have been this big?
About that size, yes, sir.
Wow. And what do you do? What kind of metal is it made with? How do you put it together?
I use a frame when I use recycled metal for the frame or whatever I take my hands on. But for the outside, I got a brand new sheet metal, 26 gauge sheet metal.
Sheet metal, and just what, you tap it together or weld it together?
Weld it together, piece by piece, hammer it, until give you a nice muscle tone proportions.
Wow.
And it's fun.
Look at this. It's absolutely done so beautiful, and the way it's rusted. And look, even the eyelashes up here, and the eyes, and the ears, and it almost looks like real skin up there above the ears, the way it's wrinkled like this.
And we don't have to feed them. We just look at them.
And they're going to last for a long time, aren't they?
Oh, they will. They will last for a long, long time. And the older they got, the better they look.
How many pieces have you done so far?
About 54 in this place.
54. Now, can you tell the difference about how your work has evolved and changed and maybe even gotten better as you go along?
Well, everything has got to be better. Once you start doing something and you keep doing it, you got to make it better. That's the whole thing to do. Got to make it better. So everyone is better, everyone is different, and everyone has his own personality. So it's something to see in every single one.
Spoken like a true artiste.
Yes, he's the Picasso of steel. He never went to art school. He learned how to weld, and he puts it together. I'm just so amazed how he does it.
Now we've come on a sculpture. That's a bird.
That's right. That's a big bird.
And you should know because you installed this piece of sculpture,
yes,
didn't
I
you?
did. Yes, I did.
Introduce yourself to everybody.
I'm Okie McNatt, and we own a business called Whippersnappers.
Whippersnappers.
Yes.
That's a local business here in Borrego Springs.
Yes.
And your normal business is doing what?
Pads, footings, septics, that sort of thing.
Construction work.
Yes.
How did you get involved with all of this?
Well, at first we donated our time, and then whenever it got to the point where it got into the big animals, then Dennis said, keep your hours and we'll go from there.
So your job is installing all of these things. You'd never done anything like this before.
No, I did not.
Well, what's it like what do you have to have, a big lift of some sort?
Well, we have a big backhoe with an extend-a-hoe, and basically it's trial and error in the beginning. And it's pretty tedious work because you have people all around you at the time, and at any moment something could happen.
Yeah, and I guess now people in town, well, you're a townsperson. Yes. What did people think about this? Be honest now, when it first all started.
Well, at first, I think people thought Dennis was crazy, but needless to say, the community got overwhelmed with it and are very enthusiastic about it now. And when people start enjoying them, you see 20 or 40 people at each statue or sculpture, then you know that the artwork's doing something.
Yeah, because people, when you're installing them, I bet you have people coming out here watching, don't
Absolutely. You? Most of the time, poor Ricardo and I can't get nothing done because of it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good thing.
Yes, that is.
And you're kind of into all of this now, aren't you? This is kind of... You've been doing it a couple of years. It kind of grows on you, doesn't it?
Yes, it does. Each one of them seem to get easier as we go along now.
Do you think you have developed through all of this a greater appreciation for art?
Yes, I have. Yes, I
And
have.
what about for natural history? Finding out, did this bird, for example, there never was a bird this size out here, was there?
Well, let's hope there wasn't, but I'm sure there was. Otherwise, we wouldn't have one sitting up here, I don't think.
Well, we've seen a lot of sculptures of prehistoric animals, of animals that aren't here anymore. They lived here thousands, tens of thousands, millions of years ago, but we're ending up here standing in front of these beautiful sculptures of something that is still very much here. Dennis?
Well, that is so true, Huell. The fact is we're in Borrego Springs. Borrego in Spanish means sheep, like these peninsular sheep, a protected species, named after it. They're here in the mountains. They're watching us every day, but we don't see them. So Ricardo made them to be seen, touched, viewable by the local residents and the tourists who come through here. So we brought them out of the bush.
And in a beautiful way, too, because you've got them displayed all around this area in different situations. But the most dramatic is right here. What are these two longhorn sheep doing? Why are they, raised up like this?
Well, we try to make a little bit of motion, and they lift up to get some leaves from the trees, or to start a fire, something like that. Now they have a motion, it's like a picture paper right there. Wow. Nothing behind, just the mountains, open sky, and just imagine seeing the moon behind them.
So you chose this spot. The two of you all choose every single spot for every single piece of sculpture.
Oh yeah, we tell where they go, we bring plants, and everything is planned ahead,
So nothing is by chance.
Well, that's very kind of Ricardo to say we do this. Then he comes out and decides on the scene. And I relax with that. He's the artist.
But what a beautiful place to have these, and what a wonderful statement they make.
It's going to be some post-up pictures right there.
Yeah, well, we're taking a picture right now.
Yeah,
well,
there you have it. They look alive.
Yeah, they do look alive. Well, congratulations on all the work you have done.
I appreciate your time, and thank you for
this
everything.
Is beautiful work. And
well, that's
of
great.
course,
it's a lot
this
of
is
fun too.
Your vision, your idea for doing all of this, and boy, what a wonderful addition to the community it is. You're both to be congratulated for what you have done. You have brought the past and the present to life for people to view and enjoy. Well, that's it. The end of an absolutely perfect 2-day road trip to Anza Borrego Desert State Park and to the nice little community of Borrego Springs. You know, they got it all. They got the spectacular natural wonders, they got the history, and most importantly, they've got a lot of very nice people. If you haven't been here, you've missed a very special place in California. I highly recommend coming to see it for yourself. Take enough time to get into the spirit of the place. This is a very special place. I know I'll be back myself. Goodbye, everybody. We've had an absolutely wonderful time.
Boy, did we have fun on this road trip. And trust me, Anza Borrego Desert State Park and the nice little community of Borrego Springs are definitely well worth a visit. Now, if you'd like to go on this particular adventure again, share it with family or friends, or perhaps donate a copy to your local school or library. It's available on DVD. All you have to do is call 1-800-266-5727, and we'll be glad to send it to you right away.
Wildflower alert, because it's going to be a beautiful wildflower season down at Anza Borrego State Park this year. Check out the website, call ahead, make sure the wildflowers are there. And if you're ever going to visit Anza Borrego State Park and Borrego Springs, now is the time to go. You and 20 million other people can go and see them for yourself. The beautiful wildflowers of the spring in Anza Borrego State Park. Enjoy.
Road Trip with Huell has been made possible by the Automobile Club of Southern California.
Wherever you're headed on your next road trip, the Auto Club knows the territory. For travel tips or comprehensive destination information, as well as booking your next family vacation, our website is a great first stop on any journey, no matter how far away your destination may be. Through all life's travels, we're always with you.